in this program here, what we're going to take a look at is a really essential skill that we're going to need when we want to start manipulating text and determining what values are in it. So what I have here is the first paragraph of a novel. So you can use any paragraph from any novel that you want. A lot of them are available online, especially if it's a well-known text like A Tale of Two Cities, which I've grabbed here. So it's quite long, so it just runs quite a bit past the edge of the screen here. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a program that is going to count how often various things show up within the string. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look for a character. So we're going to have this character, CHR letter, and we'll look for the letter I. Okay, that's the first thing. And then we're going to look for STR letter equals I. So we're going to look for it as a char and a string just to see how those two things differ from one another. And we're also going to have a larger piece of text called, we'll set time. This could be anything that shows up multiple times within your text. And then we're going to need a counter, and we'll initialize it to 0 here as well. Okay, so this is count for char. This is the way that we're going to go about counting how many times this character appears in the text. So sometimes using a char instead of a string could be to your advantage when you only have to look for like one character, one letter. So we're going to start with a for loop. So for. Now what we want to do is we want to look at every single position in the string that I've got here. So int I gets the value, and we're going to start it at 0 because that will be the first index within the string right here. Now I'm going to put I question mark, and then we're going to base it on my text.length I plus plus, because we're going to look, one at a time. So we're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, what do we put here? So a lot of people, because you're used to writing for loops like this, will write this sort of thing. Now here's the problem is we're going to check every position within the string. So the equal sign is the issue here. If my string has 100 characters in it, which means it'll have a length of 100, the last index will not be 100, it'll be 99. So we don't want I to get up to the length. We want it to stop before the length, so we just do this. I've seen some people alternatively program it like this. So we're going to go from I0 up to the length -1. But I feel like, this is a little bit of a cleaner way of writing that. Okay. So now what do? What we're going to do is we're going to check to see if whatever letter we're currently looking at is this letter we're trying to find and count. So we're going to put in my text dot charat, and then we'll put I in here. So first it's going to look in position 0, and then 1, and then 2, and then all the way up. And we're going to check to see if it equals CHR letter. If it is, we're going to go counter plus plus. Okay, and then after the loop, let's put the frequency. So system.out.println. Let's put in frequency, how many times it shows up, plus counter. Okay, so let's see what this did. Let's run the program. And we're going to get a count of how many I's are in the text. So it comes up with a count of 44. Now, imagine that I wanted to switch this and do a count of the letter I, whether it is a lowercase or capital. So in this case, it's only checking to see if it's a lowercase I. So it's going to count this one, but it's not going to count this one at the beginning. So what we want to do here is we're going to check it this way. So we can have char at not look at my text, but we can have it look at a lowercase version of my text by doing this, to lowercase. So this is a little bit longer, but what it does is char at is now going to look at a lowercase version of my text. So just to see how the count is different, there we go. We'll let it run here. And we get a count of 45 there. So there was only one capital I. Also, I don't know why you would need to do this, but if you needed to figure out how many capital letters, you could do a count of how many lowercase, how many I's like this were, and then compare it to this count here, and then you would actually get 1, which is the amount of uppercase letters. Don't know why you would want to do that, but that could be something to solve. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to see how many times the string I shows up, just to see how that's different. So let's zero out our counter here. And then we need to, of course, write another for loop. So this is, we're going to use the word traverse. We want to traverse the string again. And I can use this same opening. There we go. That'll prevent me from making any kind of silly mistake. So now what we need to do is we need to check to see if my text, now how do we look at a letter? We have to look at a substring of the complete string. So what we want to do is we want to look at imagine we just wanted to look at the first one. So if we wanted to look at the first one, we would go mytext.substring 0, 1. And that would look at just the first character there, or the first position. But we can't use the equal sign. We need to use dot equals, and we're going to check to see if it equals dot str letter. So just like we did up here with the lowercase, we're not checking to see if the whole thing equals the letter. We're checking to see if the substring of my text equals the letter. There we go. So if that's the case, we want to do a counter plus plus. Now, this is only going to check the first position. So what we have to do in this situation is if the first position is 0, 1, the second one is going to be 1, 2, and then 2, 3. So the way it works is this will always be I, and this one will be I plus 1. And it's going to run like that. And then we can recheck our frequency. So we'll save this, we'll run it. Okay, so now the frequency is 44 because remember that we're only checking the lowercase I. We could change this to an equals ignore case, and then it wouldn't care whether it was uppercase or lowercase. Now, the last thing that we want to do is we want to do this for time. So we're going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm going to start it with essentially the same thing. And then we'll see how we have to change this around. I'm going to pull this down here. Okay, so we're not checking for the letter. We're looking for count text here. But we've got some issues that we have to take care of. So the first issue that we encounter here is this here will only be looking at one letter at a time, and we can't look at one letter at a time. We have to look at, everything from this to like +4 because time has 4 letters in it. So we can do +4, and that'll work. And then what we want to do is we're going to change this because we're going to get an error here. So watch what happens. I'm going to run this. And you'll find here that we got a string index out of bounds exception. And we know that this happens when we try to access an index of the string that doesn't exist. So we went over here. How did we go over? So here's the problem, is that if we go all the way up to my length, remember, it will just assume that it has a length of 100. This I will go up to 99. So when I is 99, it's going to look at position 99 to 103. That's the issue that we're having, is there is no position of 103. So we have to end this even earlier. So I'm going to do -4. So if we run this, it now works. You know what? I should probably display the frequency as well. Good idea. So I'll run that again. Okay, and of course I forgot to zero out the counter here. There we go. Okay, one more time. All right, so we get a frequency of 2. The word time appears 2 times within the text. So this is good. We've got the length here. Now, what happens if we suddenly want to change this to something different, or maybe have the user enter what they want to have? So I am going to look for IT. How many times IT is going to show up? But now I have the annoyance of having to go down here and change this. So this is why what we should have here is my count text dot length. And similarly here, instead of the just number, we're going to have count text dot length. And this way it will not matter how long it is, because it will scale appropriately. So it shows up 13 times in the text. If I want to take it was, I can easily just drop that in, and it will be able to scale no matter how much text I put in there. So really the idea here is when you're searching a string for a value, if you're using char, remember that you can use the equal sign, and it works pretty nicely, but of course with only one letter. If you're using a string, you have to use equals. And then if it's more than one letter, remember that you do have to end, much earlier in the string than maybe you had expected. So those are things that you really need to be careful of when you are searching a string and traversing it.